Started.
Let's do it.
Are we live? Can they hear us?
We are now live.
Aha!
Aha!
Welcome to more of this.
This
I like
oracle of bullshittery.
It's like finally the new content.
Yeah.
I like the whole trip we went through, though.
As much as she tried to hide it, the elation and pride at the prospect of getting up to what I'm sure could only be referred to as shenanigans were plain to see in Zhao's face. Adder was not keen on leaving Sepp unattended, but he followed Zhao all the same to the uncharacteristically well-maintained inner sanctum.
I stumbled upon this room while I was looking for the broom closet. It's full of all sorts of regalia from ages past, and I'm willing to say it looks rather authentic. Since the seer very explicitly forbade you from showing your face around the temple.
The holy little swindler put a hand on a helmet and smiled.
No, that's smart. I got that part. I'm just wondering why you got a pile of clothes on your hands, too.
Ada, the future of this city depends on me finding a suitable dress. The cowl very much makes the monk.
Adder raised a skeptical thumb to his chin.
And Ilgrab never mentioned the tall lady. She's our boss now. You can't leave me behind. I can't be caught wearing the same 3 dusty rags the next time we see her.
That's real holy of you, priestess.
One can't honor the gods if they do not honor themselves, Ada. Do you understand? Love is a righteous path. Love is the work of the divine.
Zhao pulled Adder's face towards her, squishing his cheeks into pancakes.
And I'm a devout believer, see?
I still don't
Stoker's
get it, but
religion.
You know what? You do you. I can't really judge nobody for putting their job on the line for a pretty face. Just pray there won't be a next time with her.
And so began...
How about this one?
We need to find the right helmet for your face shape. How do you feel about chest plates?
the crucial moment in history.
You don't think pink is too last season?
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with heirloomite fashion, which may suit our purposes just fine.
In which a fawn and a kid.
Would you like to try holding my spear instead?
Appreciate it, but I like my eye where it is. You know what we could use, though? A comb.
Did Zhao take off her coat?
Find themselves in the mirror.
God's above. Is that really me? I'm feeling so dashing.
And completely forget what they came to do.
You look like a different person.
I never knew you were a miracle worker, priestess.
You make miracles easy.
Oh, shut. Wait, what?
This has been so much fun. We should do it again sometime.
Yeah, we really oughta. What were we doing now?
Zhao and Adder finally finished parading up and down the shed and staggered out towards the yard.
She tried to get into a role.
Look! There's someone coming out! Where's the Yasif? We want to see him!
Is that a
Him?
goat? With a yellow deer?
Good people of Heirloom, we thank you kindly for your patience. I'm only here to deliver the word of
Joe.
the famous Zhao, one of the very last true priestesses of Herub himself. She who has braved the long journey through the steppes on a pilgrimage from the distant frozen lands of very far up north, where ibexes live, I think. Now, I'm going to shut up and let her do the talking now.
Zhao cleared her throat. It would still be a few moments until words dared to come out. She started speaking in Basaktet, soft and barely audible to the first row of guests. Adder looked at her, nodded to himself, and started relaying the message to the best of his abilities.
There's an old Basak Saran poem that has survived for generations in my hometown. Where the rivers of fate start, each soul its due receives. When the rivers thirst until mud runs dry, the sun still burns for our Jasif. Could anybody tell me how the first Jasif came to be?
Not me.
Mutters, harumphs, and coughs. A few people raised their hands awkwardly.
The Barhans pray to the sun for protection and stuff?
Zhao smiled and nodded.
You may find this poem tells it a bit differently, though. When Hirub created Barhankind, he asked the master of the suns, Jase, to guard his new creations while he took a nap. Our sun was so zealous about her job that she wouldn't let a cloud hover over Basik Serat. During Hirub's rest, the kingdom became a desert. There was no food, no water. It was a calamity, some may say. And yet, the Barhans learned to survive and prosper, for all their enemies fell victim to the heat and lost themselves under the blinding light. We built a civilization of science thanks to the sun's watchful eye. It was after this that the Barhans started worshipping Jase, and she became so revered that when Hirub returned, our ancestors asked him to bring the sun to Dakna so that they could thank her properly. Hirub agreed to remove Jase from her heavenly duties for just one day, lending her the shape of her beloved, a chance to walk among her worshippers before she would have to return to the sky.
GC, is there somebody in the background there?
No?
I keep hearing somebody.
Oh, same.
In her
So he
day
tried-
on Dakna, the sun shared food and drink with the Barhans, and she decided to honor them and make them kin. Blessed as she did, for her children were born onto the world, and she never forgot them. For each Joseph who rose, our sun would leave the skies once more to bless her children anew.
Zhao gripped the shaft of her spear and lifted it high in the air so that the golden tip may shine under the last few glimmers in the horizon.
Today, we witnessed a new day without sun. Today, we welcome a new Joseph. We raise our heads and look at the sky with hearts full of pride and at each other, not as north and south, ibex and gazelle, but as Barhans. This is the start of a new era, of new blessings and tribulations we shall face. Pray to Hirab that the Joseph may grow strong. Pray so that all of us Barhans may call ourselves siblings again.
The audience exploded in cheers and exclamations for both the Jasif and the priestess.
All right, give it up for Jiao! Woo! If you enjoyed this prayer, please don't forget to tell your friends and leave a donation at the offertory. Have a good night, everyone. Don't get caught roaming outside after curfew.
Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Just thinking that.
Spectators muttered among themselves. They were not yet satisfied.
May we see the Jasif?
Adder and Zhao exchanged a desperate look.
No, she's for real tired right now. After all the heavenly stuff she got to do today. Yep.
You could call it that.
Heavenly.
You could say she's feeling a little bit burned out.
That's a good one.
Your prayers shall keep us strong. Please keep praying in whatever measure you can.
Donations! Don't forget the donations. Pour one out for the Queen of Queens.
The crowds dispersed at last in the manner of those whose minds are filled with much to discuss after a lecture. As soon as they reached the forge, both Zhao and Adder collapsed on the ground like stringless puppets.
I think we did well.
Adder fixed his eye on the darkness waiting above the forge. He turned on his back and propped himself up on his elbows so as to sit on the ground.
Just well won't do.
Why are you talking like the Sierras now?
Much to her chagrin, Zhao agreed deep down. She got up, dusted herself, and wandered out of the forge to choose a few new books to skim over. Adder, for his part, started gathering every single plank, metal sheet, and loose piece of furniture he could find around the temple. Zhao only raised her head from the page when the hammering started.
Are you barricading the crematorium?
I don't know what that means, but, we gotta protect the Yasif and stuff from any possible peeping eyes. Yep, that's all. Ain't nothing else could want to hurt us out there. Nope.
I know that it's hypocritical of me to insist on this after everything, but You're in no condition to do physically demanding work, Adder. Why don't we leave that for another day?
I don't think that's ever stopped Adder.
I told
Yeah,
you,
right.
I'm useless. I got no clues what to do or where to start.
I mean,
So I'm
most
trying
of
to
the time
focus on
I'd
a few
agree.
things I know I can do. Building up walls? And believe it or not, I could do that with my eye closed. But it's the same with you and praying. You're a natural, Miss Jow.
Most of the time I
sunshine
agree, but he
brighter
does have like
on the
a
way than
3-inch
it
gash in
goes.
his neck.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I'm sure I agree. You agree, Sep?
The flame burned languidly on the forge.
Poor
You must be
Sap.
bored out of your mind. Don't worry, love. We'll get you out of there in no time. Jow's read like 1,000 books already.
I
half expected that.
I do not have such skills. Please don't get her hopes up. What I have found so far is references to the shifting of shapes that some Jasif displayed at will. It's only been mentioned anecdotally in the accounts I've read so far, so I suppose it wasn't considered a cause for distress or even a show of skill for them. I don't intend any disrespect bringing this possibility up. It's merely my working theory. It could be that our son is temporarily stuck in one of her forms, or even between them. Perhaps something is getting in the way of her powers.
Yeah, thought as much. It's my fault. I could have told you that.
Zhao observed in silence as Adder finished nailing impromptu boards to every last column. Then he grabbed his helmet and popped up his collar so high you may have thought he was trying to disguise a wholly different kind of mark.
Like what kind?
Well, it's like...
No, I'm just messing with you. I pop my zits sometimes too.
Heading out now. Gotta do some personal stuff.
Oh,
Look over
Lynn.
Sep for me, yeah?
You're
Will you be
so
out now?
innocently
I
not
don't mean
innocent.
to rush you, but I'm still trying to fix my sleep schedule after
Oh,
the journey,
Kitsuka.
and I'm starting to run low on funds for food.
She's a teenager. She is not innocent. Anyone out there who claims they were innocent as a teenager is a liar. Even if you weren't yourself dirty, you hung around other dirty teenagers.
Inexperienced,
It's
but not
true.
innocent.
The things I learned about my classmates after I graduated,
Yeah.
like I went to like a little Christian school where I just assumed everyone was actually behaving themselves, and then the stuff I learned they were doing the whole time and I had no idea.
Zhao produced a coin purse and opened it, completely unprompted for Adder to peruse. Her idea of low funds involved 3 times more money than the average successful slum-dwelling thug could manage to mug in a week. Adder scratched the back of his head, accidentally knocking the helmet out of place. What was he even supposed to say in a situation like this? There was a chance he wouldn't be able to return at all.
If I'm not back by dinner time, there's a pantry with a bunch of potatoes near the back, under the tower. The key's inside the red and white plant pot to the left. Anyone asks, you say you found out on your own. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, thanks, bye.
The moon was absent from the sky that night. Not even a hint of the orange orb that drew the colors away from the dusk skies every night, leaving only the emptiness among the stars watching over Dak Na. Who could be a better companion for the deer walking towards the market tonight than darkness itself? It kindly obscured the view of his hands and his limp as he clung onto his crook, walking with his back straight like an ironing board. It wasn't his first night outside after curfew, and it wouldn't be the last. He knew the right alleys to wander into and the proper way to shuffle past the guards patrolling the streets, but he wouldn't use them today. No, the stag didn't hesitate when he walked into the keep. He knew he was supposed to be there. He deserved to be. It was everyone else that needed convincing.
Good evening, kind of fellows.
No response from the guards lazily looking in his direction. Still, he must have done a decent job at walking like anyone but himself, for he wasn't stopped a single time on his way to Illigrab's office. What for? He thought. I'm about to put everyone's necks on the line. Adder took a deep breath and pushed the tall doors in.
Illigrab, are you in there?
Regrettably, as it used to be the case, the tree man was nowhere to be found.
Darn it, turn it into oblivion. He said he'd be here all day. Stupid metaphorsis.
Before Adder had a chance to curse any other literary resources, the metal gates creaked open once again.
Pilgrim, are you in there?
A muscular man with a bandaged head and comparatively meek gazelle by his side strolled in, paying absolutely no heed to the yellow deer whose blood they had curdled into pudding.
God, how could a tree be this hard to find? He is a tree, bammit! Why does he even need an office if he never uses it? We should have him move to the garden. Wouldn't you be happier in the garden if you were a tree?
I don't believe I'm qualified to answer such a troubling question, sir.
Well, someone has to be! You, the deer over there, who are you? Are you the gardener? I don't recall authorizing Illigrab to hire any gardeners. No, I am someone, of course. By ye gods I am. But thou must not have heard of me. I am the one who is known as Adderson of the Upper Field?
Adder turned around and very briefly to scream into his hands.
How dare you think me so foolish? Of course I have heard of you. Sir Upperfield! Forgive me for being so uncouth. I wasn't aware that we would have a distinguished guest among us tonight.
Yeah, of course she does not remember Adder's name.
Oh, Elbar. I blame it on the head injury, but you're always like this.
The setup was just there. I could tell it was coming.
Yeah.
Damn it! Why wasn't I informed of this visit?
I would have had to be made aware of it first, sir.
No, it ain't like... My good sir, please spare your friend any unpleasant trees. It's not his fault. I visited without announcing to speak to an old friend.
I like how he's struggling so hard to keep his accent repressed.
First of all, how dare you call Illigrab an unpleasant tree? Second of all, yes, I agree.
You were waiting for Illigrab? Ha! You would fare better trying to find the fabled thornless syllabum in the ridges of Beermacassin. If you've had the misfortune of making an appointment with that tree, you may as well consider your time lost. Where did I leave my manners? Here you are wasting your precious time, and yet I laugh. My judgment must yet remain impaired after the dangerous battle I fought today. To think my demise could have arrived so suddenly, so dishonorably.
Adder puckered his cheek. He had thoughts he couldn't afford to think.
But enough about it. I noticed a certain foreign cadence as you spoke, Sir Upperfield. Whence may your accent be? Well, it may be right here at this moment, but its origins lie in your green and distant lands of Chantere. Is that true? Then you may have met... No, it couldn't be. You're far too young. It couldn't be. But it is, my friend. I know who you ask about, and I did know the late Lord Thumar well. I watched him fight many a battle against the moving forests. Your father gave me more than I'll ever be able to return.
Adder put a hand on Elbar's shoulder in a reassuring way. He only realized his mistake when the knight turned his face towards it. Fortunately for him, Sir Askadath was entirely too moved to notice the extraordinary size of the hand patting him.
This is truly a fateful meeting! Oh, what a caring soul I found when I thought myself most alone! Forget the old shrub you came to see. Please, join me in my palace so that we may feign toast to our newfound friendship!
This is going very well for you, Adder.
No! I mean, I couldn't possibly, sir. I got very hurried matters to discuss with Mr. Buntalos, and I've heard of the troubles you got yourself into with a fellow countryman of mine. Right you are, my friend. I cannot afford myself any time to rest. Not until I find him. I know that wretched one-eyed scoundrel must have been involved in the fire today. A single look at his face is enough to... What sort of drivel am I spouting? Please, forgive my lack of decor. It's only his one-eyedness that is wretched.
Yours extols your virtues and makes you seem all the mightier a warrior, Sir Upperfield.
You know, this is like the reverse of the Perry the Platypus situation, where it's only when he takes the helmet off that he's like...
Or if the panel switches to the left, we see his eye. Or his bandaged eye, I meant to say, sorry.
Such wisdom you hold in spite of your youth. But please, let me make amends with you all the same. I shall listen to your request in lieu of Illigrab, so that you may continue your business anon.
I'm afraid these words are for Mr. Boontalo's ear holes only.
Ah, yes. Secrets are the currency of us better born, are they not? I hope there shall come the day you may open your heart to me as well. I must
I bet you do.
insist, however, that it would not be wise for you to loll about waiting for the tree man. Go in peace, my friend. I shall let him know you wish to hear back from him.
Mighty grateful, Sir Askadath. I will go and take my leave then.
Yes, yes. It's high time we all return to our duties. Damn it! Write Sir Upperfield's contact information and bring me my polish when you're done!
Adder and Bammond were left alone in Ilgrab's ample office.
In case there was any doubt, you have not fooled me for a second, Sir Upperfield. I would like to believe Sir Askadath may have seen through your deceit as well, were he not quite so intoxicated from the pain soothers resulting from your little run-in. Rest assured that I have no interest in dealing with the aftermath of this situation, so I would rather appreciate it if you could make yourself scarce and remain hard to find, for my sake and yours.
Yeah, I guess I live in the Temple of Hiram now.
Duly noted. I shall look for Sir Upperfield everywhere but there.
Hey, before I get, you wouldn't happen to see a red deer somewhere around here? About this big, horns bigger than my hands, always wears a hat.
If you are asking if I have seen such a deer in the dungeons, I most definitely haven't. If we were to speak about an honored guest residing in Sir Askadath's quarters, on the other hand...
Adder mouths a silent, "Oh."
Well, that's one worry off my mind then. Thanks for everything, Mr. Bammett. See you never.
Have a good life.
Adder walked with as much of a spring in his step as he could afford given his condition. The fickle rush of adrenaline and self-satisfaction from the extremely rigged battle of wits with Sir Askadath soon came undone in the dark streets. The acute awareness that our false knight would not have survived any other kind of battle with a broken hand and a few fractured ribs followed him wherever he went. He tried to pick up the pace, only to realize he couldn't even run. Adder had been an anxious wreck for as long as he could remember. His threadbare nerves had done him much good in the city, and fear was certainly nothing new, but he'd always felt quite confident in his ability to run from every problem in his life. He'd never known horror quite like now. Every star seemed a pair of hungry eyes, every lantern a fire about to swallow the city whole. By the time Adder arrived at the temple, he'd been clenching his fists for so long that his dull hooves had managed to bruise his palms.
I'm back.
No response. Adder pushed the blanket he'd half-nailed to the doorway as a makeshift door to the forge and made his way in. Zhao was nowhere to be found. This was enough to set Adder's brain back in overdrive. A million possibilities pelted his insides from the morbid to the mundane. He darted across the first floor, desperately looking for a hint of a whole new tragedy. Just as he was about to start screaming for the priestess, he found her tiny, motionless body. He barely managed to choke down a sob as he caught her chest rising in a long sigh. Zhao was sleeping quietly in a corner of the long-abandoned kitchen, buried in a pile of books that had at some point collapsed over her. She didn't seem the slightest bit concerned about the dust and the dreadful amount of spiderwebs all around her. Her new clothes lay neatly folded over her lap, next to a small stack of raw potatoes clearly meant for her translator. Adder couldn't even afford the mental space to feel hungry anymore. Restlessness took it all. He looked around one last time, hoping to expel any creatures hiding in the rafters with a mean glance. Once half satisfied with his examination, he sought his peace in the gentle flame hiding inside the forge. The smell of rose and almonds and that cloyingly sweet perfume Sepp always wore beckoned him. It made him feel at home.
Hey, Sepp. I went out looking for Illigrab, but guess what? I ran into Lord Snotty Snout instead. And whoo boy, Miss Rochelle sure did a number on him like you wouldn't believe. He was more hammered than his sword, talking to me all like, Sir Upperfield, my good friend, come drink with me in my palace. I says to him, I say, as if I'd rather drink my own
Adder looked back. There was a priestess just next door. He couldn't possibly say such a thing in front of a priestess. You know, if this is the inn that Adder has into becoming a knight, that is just going to be hilarious.
Does kind of make sense.
So, yeah, big surprise. You were right all along. The second I clean up real nice, everyone's listening to me like I'm suddenly worth a damn. I know you never cared about any of that, but I'll let you get me all the clothes you want when you're back. I'll wear my finest for you every day. You can laugh at me and take them off and get me all tight.
Adder turned his head back and again very quickly just to check if Zhao was still sleeping.
Anyway, I'll let you do whatever you want. Whatever makes you happy. I'm waiting for you. Get well soon. I miss you.
I don't think so.
Not in this church, Adder.
Adder stayed up as long as he could, observing the flame in silence so as to not wake Zhao up. He lost a staring contest at some point.
I honestly gotta say, I suspect that the fire would react to Adder, like, in a mean way in some way.
I think he's going to get a chance to say goodbye to Seb, but I don't think he's going to come back the way she was. That's my guess.
Voices plagued his dreams. The morning skies brushed over the darkness of the new moon, painting the world in bright hues of yellow and purple. Sunbeams delivered from Baitatse to the forge through the narrowest crevices just to poke Adder right in his one eye. The ex-smith apprentice stretched his body, yowling in pain all the while. He clicked his tongue, scratched his tail, and turned his head towards the sound of bubbling water nearby. Adder made his way into the kitchen, where he encountered the goat quietly preparing some breakfast tea.
Morning.
Tuck, I take it you didn't go to bed either.
No, I just... kind of crashed back there. By the way, if anyone asks, I'm Sir Upperfield now. You can still be Zhao. No worries.
Zhao sent a strange look in his direction. She didn't have nearly enough tea in her body to start addressing that statement, so she just let it be.
It really pains me to say this, but I think I've hit a wall in my research.
Oh, crud, I hate hitting walls. Hey, you mind passing the tater plate?
Zhao needed a moment to understand that Adder was talking about the potatoes in front of her. She pushed the plate in Adder's direction and planted an open book on the table between them.
I believe I have a good enough grasp of the underlying teachings behind the accounts I've read. But many interesting leads are buried under walls of alchemical texts that I can't make tails or heads of.
Darn, that's a whole lot
tell
of
me
stuff
about it.
I heard some. So much for being a mind reader, right?
After studying it with uncalled-for attention, Adder popped an entire raw potato into his mouth as usual. As usual for Adder, I mean. Zhao was perplexed at the sight.
I do not mean to look down upon your customs, Adder, but is it common in your land to eat potentially poisonous potatoes? Raw?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, back home, I was the one who handled the cooking, and then I went forward, and the cooks always handed out the rations, and then I figured out I ain't got no clue how food works, and a real nasty temper on the side, and...
You just assumed that preparing dishes would always be someone else's problem, and you preferred to get used to bad meals rather than do something about them yourself because it was too much work.
Yes, he's a bachelor, okay?
You ingrate! Huh? What misery it must have been for our son to be wed to a riding slacker like you! You can't expect everyone to provide for you and then criticize their work!
I ain't even hitched!
Repent for all the delicious tubers you've wasted! Repent!
Before Adder even had the time to open his mouth to apologize to the as-yet non-existent god of underground produce, Zhao pried his good hand open and placed a potato in it.
Wash that potato! Peel it! Cube it! Boil it! Bury the unpeeled ones under ashes! Skewer those bits with a stick and roast them! Salt! Salt! Salt!
Hello, Kenko.
You can't just let life carry your dead weight through the stream! Seize the chances you're given and make the best out of them!
Is Zhao going to make Adder into a proper individual?
I suspect that.
Scary.
Is Zhao actually going to make a person out of him?
Yes, chef!
Now
Yes,
eat!
chef.
Eat while it's hot. How is it?
Very frothy.
That's the taste of agency. Remember it.
Oh, Roo Croo.
Think you put too much salt on it.
Of course you don't. You're used to the safety of your puny, tasteless raw potatoes of conformity. The taste of agency
Zhao took a bite and cringed.
is an acquired one.
So you just can't cook either, huh?
I had to learn on the way here.
Wow, I had my hopes up.
Zhao and Adder sobbed quietly while they ate their oversalted potatoes.
What's all this ruckus in the morning?
Mr. Pertalk, sir. We were just cooking some breakfast.
Sack of gluttonous rakefires. Who paid for this meal?
I did?
A likely story.
The merchant felt his way around the kitchen with his cane, seemingly looking for something. The matter of Adder's expulsion, perhaps, as that seemed to have been misplaced somewhere in the night.
Would you like to join us, Sia?
No. I just thought I'd find my daughter loitering around with you.
The old man made to head back in the direction of the staircase. He raised an eyebrow towards the forge before he left.
Give that child something to eat, too. She must be starving.
Pertok left for his tower without another word. Adder stayed staring at the doorway for a while after his old master left.
Huh. That's different.
What is?
Mr. Pertalk, he's less... Never mind. I feel like he'll come back and scream at me if I say it.
Zhao didn't make an attempt to question him further. She made a little pile out of the cutlery and looked at the potato peels left on the dishes in a way that could only politely be described as utter disgust.
You think he meant getting her an actual tater? I don't think she would have accepted one of those alive.
What if we consecrate our devotion for the Jasif into the remains of our breakfast and hand it over?
You know, if you don't want to wash the dishes, you can just say that.
I'm sorry for scolding you about potatoes. Please get out of my mind.
Adder
Get out of my head, Charles.
Adder preemptively apologized to Sep for the meager, unhoneyed meal he was about to foist on her and automatically headed towards his sacred dishwashing pool. Zhao followed him out a few minutes later, now fully dressed up. One look at her and it became clear that she was busy silently judging this blatant misuse of religious infrastructure, but she remained entirely too polite to bring it up.
So, you're not married to our son?
No, of course not. I ain't good enough for that. She was going to marry someone else. Some moneybags with real big horns and a bigger chin, see? And don't even get me started on the size of his sword. Much more knightly than me, that one.
Ah, she honored him to be a knight too.
Oh, hello,
Nope.
baby.
Enough for like a trying, I'm sure. I mean, it don't even got to be a knight either. She was definitely doing her best to honor Aina, if you catch my drift. Not a subtle one, my Sep.
Sorry, Aina was, the daughter of the seer, yes?
Yep, that's my boss.
The giant lady is the seer's daughter?
What? No, that's... I mean, yeah, I guess she counts. Look, Eka may be my boss, but she ain't my boss. That'd be Aina. She's my teacher, my friend, and the strongest gal in all Dakana. If she was here, she'd fix everything in one punch.
One punch!
Nice.
By the way, has Miller gone AFK? Because he's been muted for a long time.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I
just wanted to be sure.
You don't need to listen to me grumbling every time I die in Helldivers 2.
Yes, I do.
Moonlighting.
Okay. Fuck these bugs!
Somebody bonk him.
Gone. For now.
Adder poured all of his energy into brushing the dish he was holding. In his mind, weeks had already passed since that last heart-to-heart he had with Aina in the exact same spot, but in reality it had been only a few days.
First Aina, then Sep, Guelph too, I guess. I'll be damned if I can count on Eligrab or the patron for anything. Darn. With so many friends dropping left and right, I'm starting to believe I'm the one who's cursed.
Oh, Adder.
Zhao looked askance at Adder, racking her brain for the right adage for the moment.
It sounds like you're dealing with a lot right now.
Nah, I'm fine.
Without another word, Zhao took one of the dishes from the pile and started brushing it as well. Her face made it clear she'd rather be brushing thistles.
I don't believe I have the power to help in any meaningful way, but sorry, I don't know if this is considered proper in Akathor, but I could offer you a hug, if that'll make you feel better.
Gee, Adder, why does your mom let you have 3 girlfriends?
Adder stared
Now hold on, Zhao's not his girlfriend.
Yet.
We've established Zhao is very heavily a lesbian.
Have we, though?
Well,
because I know we know she's into Eka, but that doesn't mean she's not bisexual.
Well, so far she's only blushed heavily at Eka.
Yeah, but that's enough.
Okay, Adder stared at her dumbfounded. A moment later, both dishes went flying to the air as a tiny goat was nearly crushed to death.
Joe! You didn't need to. You're the nicest person I've met in my life. And I would fornicate anyone for you.
I appreciate that. Please don't get snot on my good robes.
Remember, we established that Adder thinks fornicate means to stab somebody in the eye with a fork.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. What'd you dress up for today, anyway?
Baby face.
Fancy him that much?
The congregation is growing fast, and we need to be ready to share the morning prayers with them.
Right, yeah.
Adder gave her a moment to tell him exactly what he'd read in her head. Zhao hid her blushing face in her hands.
And I want to make sure I look good in front of your boss in case she drops by.
Anything for your holiness?
What Zhao failed to mention as she led Adder to the roof over the colonnade he'd walled off is that where there had been merely 50 people the day before, there were now a couple hundred.
What the? There she is, our Jasif!
No, Ishcap! That's just a goat!
Priestess Zhao, show us the Jasif!
Zhao, what is this?
The congregation of Hirub! They came back, inspired by our devotion!
That they are! No, for real. These folks should be working right now. You know what this is, right?
Followers of Hirub, yes? I'm sorry, something might be getting lost in translation. What am I supposed to be looking at?
Nothing. I'm sure this is just one of those thoughts rattling in my brain Sep would have had some words for. But still, don't get started just yet. Let me get a lay of the land first.
Adder, who, by virtue of having gone from farmer to soldier to wanted criminal, had lived through all sorts of revolts, mutinies, and riots, wouldn't have dared call a religious get-together for oppressed minorities any alarming words.
Not out loud, in a company that may have opinions about it.
He was closely acquainted, nevertheless, with the consequences that tended to happen to any get-togethers that escalated past a small nuisance in the eyes of the law. In the matter of crowds, emotions made all the difference. A few hundred angry people, that's a mob, and they fade with their fury. A few hundred scared people, that's a calamity, they'll get it together once they're safe. But a few hundred Barhan cheering for a glimpse of the culture they once shared, that was no fleeting emotion. Joy was too powerful a tool to ignore for the kingdom that wanted to silence it.
That's not what Adder was thinking, is it?
No, I'm sure Adder wasn't thinking anything quite so vehement back then. These are still words he said to me once, nonetheless. That he remembered the joy of the crowd, decades past, more than the anger and the fear. That it made all the difference in keeping their hearts alight with pride through the struggles. I thought you'd rather hear that.
Thank you.
Adder snuck out of the temple through the back entrance to the library and staggered around the corner to head to the yard. Whatever it was he was pondering upon, he nervously scurried among the crowd in his nightly disguise. It soon came to a halt as his eyes zoned in on a couple of gazelles that looked extremely familiar.
Yeah.
I told you, Kyubsop! That had to be the Yasif!
And I already told you that was no Yasif. That was just a delusional
Yeah,
kid.
I thought it was these two.
Oh, yes!
Oh, it
We
looks
get
like you got a
thrown
mustache.
into a cell after a kid wanders down the desert roads claiming to be our son, and 10 years later the place goes down in flames? Matnet top!
Matnet S? It's called a coincidence.
Gods, I really hope we get to see the Yasif soon, just so she can make you eat your words.
At least they'd be giving us something to eat then. Where's the fruit we were promised?
Hey, I know you.
You do?
I mean, I don't know you, but I know the Yasif, and the Yasif knew you.
What's with this guy? It's a really half-hearted scam.
Bet you Adoru that's not even what this thick skull's trying. Sodding weirdos. So, you say you know us, do you? What an honor it is to be recognized by an envoy from the Yasif. Just to make sure you're not getting the wrong gazelles here. What's my friend's name?
Oh, jeez, no! Where's Maxie? What's the correct answer?
I
Pretty
don't
sure
think-
both of these are wrong.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think they're both
I
wrong.
know this one.
What is it, Fed?
No one is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one's the right one, Fed?
First one.
Okay.
First one's right? Okay.
You're the only.
Look at F, of course it's right.
No,
That's right! How did you?
That proves nothing. He could have just been spying on our conversation. Tell me your full name.
It's been 10 years. How is the Yasif supposed to know that sort of keptat?
She's the Yasif. She should know everything.
I mean, she's got a whole darn lot in her head, all right, but that ain't really how that works.
What would you know?
Don't be like that. Yatsuribe are practically gazelles, right? Didn't you have a yellow deer in your extended family or something?
A crazy old bag is what she was. Just a hornless gazelle with a big snout. That doesn't make her a doe.
I like how the guy just grew a mustache between all that time.
I said that.
It's how you can tell that time has
deer
passed.
call themselves Badhan?
No, but,
Didn't think so.
Also, I think
Pretty
her hair
long
got
now before
curly
the
as well.
Yasif starts missing her dear friend.
Adder merely
Okay.
bowed his head and marched back inside, far more deflated than before.
Did you have a good lie on the land?
the land? Oh, no, that was just a way of talking. You really thought I needed to go lie down on the dirt or something?
I thought it was some spiritual thing. A strategic positioning? Maybe you wanted to plant something? I don't know anything about Erlumite customs.
Maybe you're a
You don't know
vampire?
anything, I don't know nothing. What the hell are either of us doing here?
Our best.
Adder's mouth hung open for a few seconds.
That's nice and all, but our best ain't good enough. They're not here to hear thoughts and prayers. They're gonna want a whole lot of things. It's all stuff we can't give them.
Adder retreated away from the roof, followed by the priestess worriedly accompanying him to the entrance. He took his helmet off one last time to look her in the eye.
We can't do this alone, Chow. We're in way above our heads.
That's what I've been saying all along.
Cue Geoff strumming absentmindedly at his oud, producing a sound that could be best described as the wail of the dying.
Geoff! What the? Bring it in, you little backstabber! I can't believe I'm still happy to see you.
I wish I could say the same! I really hoped I would never have to see your face again! Ugh! How many times do you need to get your tush saved in a week?
Saved? I should be the one saying that, you traitor! Didn't you get yourself arrested or something? At Lord Snotty Snout's palace? How did you even find us?
I was arrested! And by all technicalities, I still am. I was just about ready to walk out of the city with a small fortune and missing family heirlooms when Elbar's steward kindly informed me that a certain Sir Upperfield had been inquiring about me. I was moved by the thought of you infiltrating the guards' keep hoping to rescue me, even after all the misfortunes keeping us away from each other.
After betraying me, you mean?
Mistakes were made on both sides in the heat of the moment, yes! What does that matter now? I still ran all the way here to find you. But what I find is that not content with getting almost executed once and almost getting captured twice, my dear nut in the making set out to become an agitator trying to start a riot!
No, it's all Miss Priestess here with her moving speeches. You should listen to the things she's actually saying. I'm doing a crap job translating for her.
I'm not sure where you got the impression any of that was meant in a positive way.
Of course it was. I mean what I said. You speak real pretty.
Adder, ladder, poorly stacked pile of acrimony. You know I love you from the bottom of this wretched heart. So
Here
I'm
it
going to
comes.
say this as nicely
tricky.
as I can. Have you forgotten what's coming to us? Put those ridiculous clothes back where you found them and go get my sister before I drag you two out of the city by the tail!
That ain't gonna be easy now, Bard.
I don't care how heavy her rear is. Tell her that if she doesn't walk out on her own 2 feet, I'll have Elba roll her all the way up to the gates.
Why don't you tell her yourself?
Gya stared at the fire with an unreadable expression.
Mind giving us a moment?
Zhao nodded and turned around the threshold, allowing the fake bard and the fake knight some level of fake privacy. A staring contest just for Geoff and what remained of his sister. Adder didn't dare make a single sound, incapable of imagining what he'd feel in Geoff's shoes. Worse yet, if anything happened to his little brothers, Adder would have no way to know, no way to do anything about it, even if he knew. All he could do was urge those thoughts out of his mind time and time again. Unaware of the silent turmoil he'd stirred within our protagonist, Geoff finally sunk his fingers into his own jowls and gurgled out some kind of annoyed squeak.
Not this again! Ugh!
Geoff threw his foot back, kicked the forge, and then squawked out a pained scream.
Say what? Hold on. This ain't the first time this has happened then?
Were that it was! What kingdom wouldn't love a queen so hot-headed that she bursts into flames the moment she gets a little stressed?
Listen here, Bard.
No, you listen! What did you do to her?
What did I do? I got her out of the house. She coalized and brought her ashes here. That's what.
That's all? How in the name of the Hatsa could that be all? She was perfectly fine yesterday. Escaping from some guards wouldn't make her do this. Not even the beasts. It has to be you! She didn't step out of line once in 10 years, and then you show up and...
She wasn't fine.
Geoff opened his mouth to reply, but no words came out.
Did she tell you that?
No. I loved her enough to know.
Pretending to throw up was puerile on Geoff's part, yes, but understandable as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, well...
You're very
all the good
unbiased,
that
Mr.
Your shoulder
Narrator.
tattoos were nothing but a foretaste. And seeing her new luxury accommodations, I guess not even Pertok could save her this time.
He ain't even tried. Said something like he knew this would happen and couldn't be bothered to help.
Of course! We were all counting the days and the hours before Queen Oma Septut the Incendiary would finally snap and burn the whole palace to the ground.
And that seemed fine to you?
Well, excuse me for not sharing your savior complex. I
Princess.
had more than enough on
Yeah.
my plate back then, all right? Ral was the one who handled it. We should just fetch her and have her convince Pertok to do something again.
Geoff looked at Adder, suddenly struck by a realization.
Because she made it out, right?
I don't know. I didn't... Talon said...
No, she's fucking dead.
Talon was there too?
Yes, it was! You almost got us killed, Goff! You think about that for a second? The people get hurt by all the crap you pull on us?
She's the one who torched the Desert Rose, you thick skull! Not me!
No! Y'all just gave her the oil and the wine! No wonder she ended up like she did, having to put up with you and your entire goddamn family all along!
Adder finally seemed to run out of words to scream. His head felt hot and cold at the same time, and every last breath came out as a pant.
Everything all right?
Adder shook his head. Then he nodded. He muttered an, "I'm fine," that didn't even come close to sounding like Cyrnar. Geoff, who decided to limit himself to silently observing the forge after the verbal beatdown, finally spoke again.
So, how do we put her back?
Was kinda hoping you'd know that.
What? Why would you think I know the last thing about any of this godly tripe? You need the help of a wizard, not a bard! Anyone who speaks this nonsense!
I agree, which is why Zhao's been working her horns off trying to figure out a way to solve this. So why we're gonna come out there and keep on praying to the masses. Because we all want to help your sister get good. Now, if we're done here...
What do you mean if
Get
we're
good.
done? Of course I'm not done! You don't get to say when we're done! We'll be done talking when I...
Stop! More shouts fixing this. The people out carry waiting much and they want to hear. It will be bad that they listen.
What in the name of the Hatsa was that gibberish?
Miss Zhao is kindly telling you to stop being a tailhole and go figure out something useful to do. We got a speech to give.
You're going to rile a crowd further while my sister is in this state? Who will look after her?
There you go. You're playing fire sitter for the day. All good now, Zhao.
Hey, come back here this instant, you cretin! Don't think you can talk to me like that just because you're wearing a helmet! Adder!
Does everyone in Heirloom scream all the time?
You know what? I'm starting to think I'm just kind of crap at choosing friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, Zales and Zales! Thank you kindly for your patience while we got everything sorted out up here. So great to see so many folk gather around for their daily prayers. Y'all making me feel all saintly here.
Someone kindly hooted for Adder in the multitude, but that was all the reaction he got.
Right, it ain't me you've come to see. You know this, I know this. Give it up for the one, the magnificent, the only hero priestess in Heirloom, Jow!
Adder shook his hands dramatically under his sleeve as he scurried back to let Zhao walk to the edge. Zhao waved her hand awkwardly and smiled at the crowd below.
I am so very pleased to see how much the congregation has grown overnight. The fervor of our ancestors shines with you all today.
Woo, priestess! Lead the way to revolution, priestess!
Lead. What? Sorry?
Priestess! We're so sorry to interrupt your holy duties. Can we ask you a question before the speech?
Oh my.
Of course.
It's less of a question and more of a complaint. Some of us are still trying to decide if we really want to ditch our jobs and get dragged into your little scam. We're not going to solve anything just by standing about. What's the big idea here?
There's no big idea. I simply wanted to pray.
What? That's not what she said yesterday!
You sure you translated that right? She said we had to come together for a new tomorrow.
Well, yes, but I was speaking about an abstract concept.
Uh-oh, don't get
Between
complicated.
Barhans in Akator and the Barhans in exile.
The goats, you mean?
Zhao bit her lip. Adder was already fretting by her side before she started balling her fist, but she merely took a deep breath and continued.
We Barhan of the North know what we are. We take pride in the knowledge that we are protectors of the past. None of us were there to witness it, but 4 centuries later, some still scorn those that took refuge in Akator after the fall of Basaksaret. We pride ourselves in submitting to the throes of fate. We chose the harshness of the eternal winter and exchanged one desert for another. It's hard to see past the resentment looking at the abundance southern Barhans live in.
What abundance! I get nothing but leftovers for dinner!
You get leftovers? I'm lucky if I can scrape together one meal after working all day in the salt marsh.
Excuse me? Aren't your houses feeding you? Oh, look, there's the house service again, thinking they're talking for everyone. Some of us have real jobs.
And we don't? I work my ass off every day of my life.
You get fed for looking pretty in front of your master's dear friends. Shut up!
Zhao cast a desperate glance over the multitude arguing against itself. She tried to grasp towards them only to immediately pull back.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not understanding your hearts. I'm sorry that, having been so focused on the past, I refused to look at the present. I tried to school you in unity without ever having considered the challenges that set us apart. I knew gazelles to have been raised in all but subservience, second to deer in Akator. And perhaps, deep down, I may have felt like you deserved it too.
Adder's legs turned to jelly as he translated these last few words, but he held firmly to his belief that on Zhao to trudge through them.
Please, let me learn from all of you. I am not here to teach you. I am your pupil. I will listen without judgment, and I will give everything I have to serve you through clear and cloudy skies. And when our Jasif wakes up, when she is ready to return, I want her to look at a community that has welcomed their own differences and is ready to look at that new tomorrow where we walk together. We have spent so long separated that we have forgotten what we once knew. We are all children of Hirub. We carry the sun with us wherever we go. We are each tiny seed that grows tall towards the sun into an impenetrable forest. Like shards of a broken mirror, once beautiful, now only sharp and hurtful. we still reflect the same light. All we need is the frame that'll bring us together.
Zhao raised a hand to stop Adder from translating her. She took a step towards the edge of the stairs and exclaimed in Cyrnar,
Today, we make friends again. We share tea and salt, know each other like brother.
The multitude stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then someone shouted,
I'm gonna get some cups, priestess!
I work at a trade house. I'll bring the leaves.
I live close by. I can get some cauldrons.
Hey, let's bring some pastries since we're at it.
I'm sure they won't miss them in my house.
The Barhan congregation poured out of the temple, seemingly reaching a conclusion of their own. As for the speaker herself, Zhao had to be held together as Adder and her trotted downstairs. She looked like she was about to fall on her face and dig herself a hole in the ground with her horns.
Why are they leaving? I thought it was a decent speech. For an amateur.
Adder's head nearly spun around on his neck. He had to confirm that the voice belonged, in fact, to the living, conscious, blonde fallow deer he most dreaded to see.
Berbeth? Oh, no! So you were the translator, as I suspected. It's good to meet you again, friend. I'm very glad to see you're keeping your head. Pun intended.
Adder raised one of his massive hands in the air, ready to detach Bearbeth's skull from his neck. One quick look back at Zhao, and he thought of the ensuing explanation that would need to follow, made him wrap his hand against the older man's shoulders instead.
Hey, pal! Mind following me inside for a bit?
But I haven't even had the time to introduce myself to your little friend here. To sack him out, good miss. I haven't had many chances to converse with native speakers since I left Corbusui.
Yes, Sagmamat. Thank you for being so accommodating. The fallow deer I traveled with couldn't speak much Basaktit at all. Mr. Barbeth, yes? My name is Duapnatir Jao, but...
Oh, linguistic shift at its finest. I believe what you meant to say was Thuapnet.
Adder choked Bearbeth with the inside of his arm.
Inside. Now.
Okay.
I'll spare you the details that led to Bearbeth being tied on a chair in front of 3 people inside the inner sanctum.
I say we return him where he came from.
Straight to his maker. No, you dimwit! We can use him for leverage with his brother.
I'm not very sure what's going on, but is the gag really necessary?
Yes.
It's for his own safety. Trust me. Kinda wish I'd get the same treatment every so often.
I mean,
That's like one of the most self-aware things Adder had said.
I mean, if you want to be gagged sometimes, I'm sure that Sepp would,
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, say damn it, again! Why do I have this power?
I feel bad for him. I'm going to take it off.
Gentlemen, please! There's no need for such dramatic measures. I come in peace.
Come to piece us off?
I understand your anger, Ada. I do. I've been pondering over the outcome of my recent interactions with you and your friends, and through my many bruises, I have come to a conclusion. I have yet to walk a long, arduous path of self-improvement. That's why I decided to join the revolution.
The what now?
The Barhan Revolution, you see. The name Barhan Rebellion was never used contemporarily. It is an awful misnomer created by the Akine historians, of course, which seems to imply that the Jasif once paid tribute to King Isifik when they did not. We are witnessing a new chapter in the history of Basaksarat, live in hard times. A religiously motivated strike. And it is my duty as an expert in all Barhan matters to teach the current generation of uncultured gazelles how to...
Zhao gently put the gag back where it was.
I say we throw him in the well.
You think we can get a better deal on him if we smear some blood on his ransom letter?
For the time being, Adder opted to lock Bearbeth in and keep the key. It seemed like nobody felt particularly in the mood to have lunch that day, but sourest of all was Zhao, quietly brooding on the patio.
Hey, priestess, You all right? I don't mean to stick my nose in your business, but, you sounded a bit less nice than usual back there.
I don't think it could be physically possible for me to be any nicer around that deer, but I hear what you're saying. All that talk about revolution left me a bit rattled, and I suppose that I'm still hung up on what you said earlier.
No, I'm so sorry for snapping at you like that. It wasn't your fault, okay? I'm not used to this sort of pressure, and there's a lot on the line right now, and...
I know.
No, sorry, but you really don't know the half of it. I mean, of course, you know, everyone's looking up to you. It's just that, I promise I'm doing my best to keep y'all safe. I can't afford to make any wrong choices.
I hold no doubt in my heart that you are doing plenty, but it's an effort you shouldn't need to make. It's my responsibility to take care of everyone here, not yours.
I know that, and it ain't like I don't trust you. I owe you my life. It's just...
Stop, please. You don't need to reassure me, Ada. I know I'm not very useful. You'll all trust me when I've proved to be trustworthy.
No, that ain't it. I swear. I'm the one who...
Adder stopped walking. He didn't really know what to say, nor what good it would be to say anything else on the matter he wasn't allowed to speak of. Zhao left without saying bye.
Sheesh. What crawled up her tail?
Yoff, do you want to get killed? Because we can arrange that.
What? Is this the gratitude I deserve for siding with you?
I just need you to understand, real fast, that I'm gonna kill you dead if you say one more thing about Miss Zhao.
Fine! Go frolic with your replacement best friend! But don't come running back to me when the gazelles tire of you!
With that, Ya stomped away as well. Adder just sighed to himself. Not 20 minutes later, just a little before curfew, the strangest noise ambled into the forge. Adder's ears perked up and turned from side to side, trying to identify the source. Incoming fanfare seeping into the yard from a huge crowd. Adder left the forge, curious and terrified to see what the ruckus was all about. And so he found himself in the middle of an even larger impromptu party in the courtyard of the previously abandoned Temple of Hiram. Know each other like brother was being chanted teasingly at the Barhans, shared dinner from the same plate and tea from the same cauldron, rather than from the same cup, as Zhao had implied. Adder stretched out his neck, trying to find a tiny priestess over the throng. He found her doing the same, and so their eyes finally met. After a short, tense moment, Zhao shrugged. Adder shrugged back. So she went and happily joined the nearest group in their merrymaking. Feeling thoroughly out of place and not a single bit eager to find excuses to welcome himself, Adder tried to sneak away and return to his self-imposed patrol duties.
Oh, hey! It's the translator! Hey, Yatur! Come drink with us! Like brother!
Hello, Zeronian entity.
Hey, Zeronian.
Hey, how's it going?
Adder, who had a record of having about as much spine as a squid when it came to rejecting invitations, immediately acquiesced and sat down, ignoring everything we just wrote. A casual round of introductions and compliments about the tea later, they turned back to the boy quietly stuffing his face.
Mr. Translator, tell Miss Priestess that she's doing great. And you too. I heard Basektet is really hard. Who taught you?
You know, I got a talent for languages, I suppose.
You know, my mother still spoke it fluently.
No way!
Merchant's word. I'm sure it was half radish stew, though. That's what you say in Chantheray, right? Pa came up from Garethke. Oh, you had this saying he loved. Zells and Rose, 3 drinks for 2 woes?
Oh, boy, I hadn't heard that one in a while.
What? That's not a thing! If anything, we have a fame for being teetotalers.
I mean, where are we supposed to drink ourselves to death if half the barkeeps glare us away?
Adder's thoughts wandered back to his memories of Sep, always drinking in the loneliness of her room, and then to Geoff, drunk whenever he could help it. He never considered once there could be a reason for it.
Hey, so, I got this friend, yeah? She's a gazelle with enough money to buy a tavern or 2. Deer wouldn't just turn away someone like that, right? Rich folk are welcome no matter where they go.
I guess if she looked fancy enough.
Money is money, and money makes the world go round.
What are you all saying? You really think deer are going to think of you nicely just because you have some coin? No! You're a gazelle with coin. You run out of money, and you're back to being a gazelle.
Wealth and power are only secondary to the perception others have of us. And this superficial influence is conditional to what the oppressing ruling class considers non-threatening. The ruling class only exists to pit the masses against each other in order to distract us from our shared plight.
I love this guy for some reason.
Everyone in the group stared at Aikike in stunned
I
silence.
like Atler. Atler's like
That's
derp.
enough tea for you.
And speaking of beverages, there walked the goat with a cup in her hand and a certain telling wobble. Adder excused himself from the group and headed towards her.
You all right there, ma'am?
The tea was heavily blessed.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely more than leaves in some of these cauldrons. Want me to fetch you some water from the well or something?
No, I'm fine. It brought back memories of the journey here. The merchants called this mix a warm blanket. It was the only way some of them would sleep when we were camping in the open.
That don't sound very safe.
Of course it was safe. I kept watch for them.
Really now? Good for you. Keeping watch is real hard. Everyone thinks staying awake is the tricky part, but it's the boredom, right? Doing the same day after day and nothing happens really gets to you. You know what I'm saying?
I think staying awake was more than enough challenge for me. I'm not really a nightly person, or a coffee one. I was drinking 10 or 12 cups of tea, unadulterated tea, every evening just to keep my eyes open.
Divine beeswax. No wonder you're so jumpy all the time.
Then what's your excuse then?
That I'm a thick skull?
That's your excuse for everything.
Sheesh, Jow. You're a mean drunk.
Well, yes, I'm a Barhan warrior. I have my moments.
The warrior priestess caravan guard moments?
So I have my spear, right? And my shield too. And anytime anyone looked the merchants wrong, I'd strike a pose like kapow!
Zhao's demonstration had Adder laughing so hard that he almost fell to the floor. Our protagonist was about to intervene with his own grand delusions when he felt the tip of something sharp getting dragged across the back of his neck and down his sash. He immediately turned his head back, looking for the thief trying to get their hands on his purse, only to find himself punched across the face by a tiny fist.
No, Ada! I'm so sorry. I wasn't aiming for you. I didn't mean to hit you.
No, it's all right. I think the tea was getting in my head just now. So, thanks for whacking some sense into me. I'm gonna go take it easy for a while.
Adder hobbled towards the first floor. His staff was firmly clasped between his fingers. He'd seen a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness when he got punched back. He was sure of it. But all he found in the forge was Geoff snoring dutifully in front of his absent sister.
Bard! Hey, Bard! Wake up! It's time to change shifts. There's a party going on down there, and I feel like they're missing a little something.
Their common sense, maybe?
Adder needn't do more than frown.
Fine. I'll go play for the gazelles. Maybe that'll make them go away faster.
Keep an eye out for Miss Zhao while you're at it. She ain't all that used to crowds, and she got more money than caution.
You should have started there.
Adder mentally apologized to Zhao for the trouble he had willingly unleashed upon her. After confirming that he was indeed alone, Adder took a deep breath. Then he addressed the ceiling.
Boss, you around?
I'm always around for you, Bones. Even when you try to keep me away.
The creature that
Spider-Man kiss. Spider-Man kiss.
The creature that dropped down from the rafters was not the boss that Adder was hoping to see, but it was one he expected nonetheless.
You looked like you were having a great time chatting down at the party. I wish you'd be that sociable with us.
Yeah, well, I hear I don't open up easily.
I could prove you wrong.
I knew she was going to say that.
Eka dragged a single claw down Adder's arm, racing the skin under his fur. Like she hadn't just made such a threat, Eka proceeded to casually sit down on Adder's makeshift bed and pat the space by her side, making plenty of room for him to join her.
Is that your army? Do you plan to fight us?
They're not an army. Or at least, they ain't here to fight you.
Who will they fight, then?
No one, I hope.
You hope?
I guess they'll fight deer if we end up giving them reasons to.
Eka hummed under her breath.
Will they fight you, too?
I don't know. I don't care about any of that. I ain't got a snail in this race. I'm just waiting to...
Adder's eye darted towards the forge. Eka followed his line of sight, finding nothing but a little flame.
To see Aina again.
Eka's sharp pupils turned back towards Adder once more, seizing him up on the spot.
All right, I'll get you, Aina.
Say what?
I like the crew you hang out with, Bones. The enemies of my enemies are my allies. Unless they're my enemies too, I guess? But let's not think about that tonight.
Eka circled Adder, posing her knobby, clawed hands over his shoulder.
Your friends are being a wonderful distraction for our purposes. My crew tells me the guard is in such a state of disarray that they hardly notice our presence. That's why I'd like to cede you Aina, to help with any ruminant-related issues that may appear. I'll arrange for her to return to her direct duties overseeing the temple from now on. Consider it a small reward for being such a good, if hard-to-train, pup.
Eka howled at the wind, letting the sharp sound resonate all over the city. Several other howls soon joined after it, barely audible over the party.
There. She'll receive her new orders soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for thanking me, pup. But I wasn't the one keeping her from you in the first place. I can't promise I'll be able to keep this arrangement forever, but I'll try. Be nice to me, and I will be nice to you. This is a promise to our continued relationship.
Eka jumped against one of the barred walls and then back to the ceiling.
Did anyone bring cake?
I don't think they did, no.
That's a shame. I tried to ask about it, but apparently I don't have enough money to buy this Chanthurian delicacy, as they called it. It would seem pieces of cake are harder to come by than you made it sound.
I guess I could always make one?
You can do that?
A glimpse of a future involving cakes made by his hand crossed Adder's mind, upset brimming with pride as she savored her new cook's work, of him eating all the cake he could ever possibly want.
Ah, yes! Thus starts our alternate universe recipe book / cooking romance adventure. The Chef of the Upperfield!
You mean Adder's into the upper kitchen?
I mean, I want some cake too.
I could learn how to make some stuff, but I ain't got no tools, and I hardly got the time to be leaving the temple.
Yeah, fair point. We'll figure out something next time.
Adder's chest only started filling with air again as he watched Eka scuttling out through the ceiling. She let her body hang upside down one last time.
Oh, I almost forgot. Thanks for the deer snack. It was delicious.
The stag's face went pale. He barely managed to wait for Eka's tail to disappear before starting out to find the prisoner that had so easily slipped out of his mind and the key that had vanished from his purse. Oh. Adder ran all the way back to the inner sanctum. The door opened under his hands with a soft push. Bearbeth still remained inside, unharmed like he prayed. No longer tied, however.
Well, well. Look who it is now.
Who took these off you?
A gargantuan doe in a hat, I think. All I had to go by was her voice. She took my glasses off and poked me with a skewered potato before releasing me.
Deer snack, of course. A snack for deer. Eka was just messing with him. Adder took a hand to his face and sighed in relief. It didn't last long.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left you alone.
Why, yes! You really shouldn't have. I'm an invaluable asset to the cause, donating my time and knowledge for the sake of it.
Listen, Bearbeth. From one thick skull who don't know when to shut up to another. Despite everything you've done, oh gods, I must be drunk. I know you mean well. I want to believe you ain't a bad guy. For real.
I also believe Bearbeth means well, and he is just incapable of acting on it.
You've been a hair's width away from getting me killed a couple of times now. But I know that wasn't really what you were going for. You mess up, and you apologize, and you make up for it. That's what a good buck does.
Bearbeth silently shimmied with pride that Adder wouldn't afford him.
However, what you were going for makes no difference in the end. You keep talking down to these folk, any folk, and then when someone finally snaps and comes at you, it's them that gets in trouble because justice wasn't made for us.
Justice isn't made, it's a social contract.
That don't matter now. See? You're so convinced whatever you're going to say is so important that you can't hear a thing outside your own noggin.
Why?
Or maybe
Your ears are just so stuffed with Papa's gold that no one ever dared tell you to your face you could be a massive, goddamned creep.
What do my family assets have to do with any of this? I don't care about the money or the privilege. It's not my fault I was born with them. What matters is how I use them. And I feel just as strongly about justice as you do. All I ask in exchange for helping is the gratitude of those I help. What's wrong with wanting that much?
So you ain't doing this for nothing in the end. You're here to hear what a good buck you are. What if no one says that? You gonna turn us in?
Of course not! I have come here because I believe this is right.
Then do right.
Bearbeth sighed. He let himself fall back into the chair, rubbing his forehead to try and keep an incipient migraine away.
How many more ways can a man apologize, Ada? I truly wish I could do anything else to show I mean it.
I don't know. I kind of stink at apologizing for all the times I gotta do it too. But the one thing I can tell you is that ain't nothing much in this world that words alone can fix. Pa always said that talk is cheap, and if sorry costs a doru, nobody'd ever say the word. Now, I don't think that's 100% right. If you never say you're sorry, how is anyone supposed to know you regret anything at all? But it ain't no cure-all fix-all to get you out of hot water when the deed is done. Sometimes, the right thing to do is shut up and listen to show you care. Others, you gotta get and leave them space to forgive you. And the rest, they may just want to hurt you back for the rest of time. You just gotta try to do right by them. Because you can't just tell folks they gotta forgive you. You don't get to choose who wants you back after failing them. Some mistakes can never be undone.
Ada took a hand to his missing eye.
I'm here giving you a chance because I'm not even brave enough to tell you what I'm making it up to you for. I don't want you to spend the rest of your life apologizing too.
Bearbeth steepled his fingers over his lap. He hesitated to look Ada straight in the eye, but he still went above and beyond to try at least look him in the nose.
I'm sorry for all the trouble I must have caused you. I'll be more careful with what I say and do. I want to help. You are very interesting people, and I want to be friends with all of you.
Good.
Oh.
I've already apologized to me. I can't forgive you for everyone else.
Yes, of course. Where's Elbar's kitchen maid? I'm sure I have a lot of apologizing to do for whatever I said to make her so uncomfortable after the trial.
Elbar's kitchen maid?
The realization hit Adder like a cart running downhill. He nearly broke his jaw, gaping at Bearbeth so hard.
You remember Sip?
How could I forget? My face still feels hot where she slapped me.
Sure enough, right at the edge of his cheekbone, there was a bit of singed hair.
You, with me, now!
After an intense race across the temple, which neither deer's body was prepared to handle, they made it to the forge. Adder had to put together quite the situation brief to alleviate Bearbeth's confusion and reduce the possibilities of him getting slapped to the ground again should Sep come back anytime soon.
Oh, gods above! It can't be!
Shh! Keep your voice down. You never know who could be listening.
How could I ever possibly lower my voice? This is the unthinking life force, the impression of light, the legendary sunlick, the most precious of all alchemic components. I have spent
the legendary Sunlick is also the name of my band.
To recreate this exact phenomenon, Nada. And here it is, right in front of me, taunting me with the ease with which it shows itself to the unversed.
Bearbeth, that's a person.
Yes, thank you for your input. I suppose it may be good to provide some context so that we can understand each other.
That's a first step.
This fire is not a fire. It is a stabilized version of an anomaly in the natural progression of the Hatsa currents, which traditionally we'd represent in academia as a swirl, or a vortex due to its properties. In extremely simple layman's terms, this is a Hatsa sink. All that comes in contact with it will be irreparably sucked in and disappeared into oblivion.
Right? But that's a person.
Bearbeth looked at the fire. Then he looked at Adder.
No, it isn't.
Yes, she is! It's just that she's the safe, and she was cursed to be forgotten, and... That's about everything I know, really.
So you're saying this is the Jasif? What remains of her, that is?
I thought people usually disappeared into the Skyrim opening cutscene, not Oblivion.
I see what you did there.
Yes, Yes, that would make some degree of sense. The fate hero cast on the Jesif Omagebseb, and the legendary technique the Sifi in his court developed to bond their souls to automata. As one single concept. Oh! It wouldn't be too much of a logical leap to assume he learned a way to tie his fate to that of others as a measure of self-preservation in the face of oblivion. An instinct to recreate this bond, pass through all of his current, perhaps. Yes, that would explain how the Sunlick remains stable. This Jesif must have bonded to both of us, yet ironically, we are the ones providing energy to her. She's both master and golem.
Golem, you say?
Hold on. I'm getting lost.
Hey, Maxie.
What do
Hey, Maxie.
golems have to do with any of this?
Hi.
Technically speaking, we are all flesh golems, subject to the whims of our nervous system. But in a practical sense, maybe everything, maybe nothing. The knowledge behind the fabrication of golems was banned and destroyed centuries ago. All we know is that the Sunlick was used to create a semblance of life in them. It is consciousness itself. Just picture it. A chemical which could even be applied to a living being to erase previous intentions so that the user could infuse their own will. The Jesif would be capable of overriding the very base of our decision-making if they could exude this substance naturally. They could have the capacity to make golems out of any of us.
Getting too excited about this, Burbeth.
He's thinking it's golems.
Capable of overriding the very base of our decision-making. Yeah, she can control minds, we know that. Bearbeth sounded exceedingly excited about this. Adder made a point to note to himself that he was surrounded by larger freaks than himself.
I suppose that would mean we share some form of connection too, then. We're bosom buddies! Get it? Because of the marks on your... Never mind.
Adder paid no heed to Bearbeth's musings. His mind wandered back to the space between getting stabbed and suddenly coming into Sep's room trying to save her.
So this really is Jesif's world, and we're all just living in it, huh?
I wonder about that. The Sunlick was a famously volatile component, even back when it was commonly synthesized. When exposed to an external power source, golems were known to briefly go mad and then collapse spontaneously into nothing. I don't know whether to blame the curse or Jesif's own nature, but if it is due to their properties being alike, I can only imagine how such fickleness would manifest in an organic body.
I got a general idea. You know, if you need me to sketch it out or something.
Adder and Bearbeth looked at each other quizzically. It seems their conversations had diverged slightly at some point.
Be that as it may, this is, quite literally, a flaw in her existence. She should have been disconnected from the Hutsa a long time ago.
Well, I have it on good authority that she exists. And she's a person, and she's been turned back to being a relatively run-of-the-mill gal before. And Zhao said that other Jesifs change shapes all the time or something.
Indeed. If we look at the Hutsa in its more metaphorical river of emotions interpretation, and consider her existence to be a fragile instability, all it could take to cause such a transformation would be a surge in the current. Whether it be temporary or permanent, willing or unwilling, I'd rather not speculate in that regard. All I can safely say is that she remains in this world because we think that she should be.
What she thinks of it don't make a difference?
Should it?
Adder stepped back, stunned at the question. He'd felt Sep's pain, her void of emotions, and her whirlwind of them. He'd witnessed the darkest pit of her melancholy and stored it away in his own little box of feelings to pretend it wasn't there. Adder sniffed hard, positive that he didn't want to shed a single tear in front of Bearbeth.
I barely qualify as a Tharthagan, but I consider myself a fantastic engineer and a better alchemist. When faced with a puzzle, not even death could pry me away from its mystery until I stumble upon an answer. And here I atone for my sins, friend. For whatever grief I could have caused you or her to prompt this change, I offer you my time, my resources, and all the knowledge I have. I shall build her a body.
What?
I know it sounds unsettling, but it needn't be. Think of it as a cozy vacation palace to inhabit while she puts her existence in order.
No! I ain't the guy to talk to here. You gotta take this to Jow when she's less wobbly. She's the expert in all things holy. And golf, too. She's a sister. Even talented be.
The sunlick is extremely volatile, as I said. We can't just leave it exposed to the elements the way it is now. The longer we stand by, the likelier it will be for her to cease existing.
I don't know crap about this, okay?
Adder stumbled back.
Sorry. I didn't mean to. Just wait a bit more, okay? I need to get some air.
As you wish. I'll settle myself for the time being in the library, then.
Adder nodded, thankful, but barely able to say another word. Adder stood still for a good while, merely listening to the echo of Bearbith's footsteps bouncing on the marble steps. Then came the silence. Old mistress, harrowing companion. Silence always turned our protagonist into an unwise man, because silence was never silent. It brought with it a company of wicked thoughts. He was not the man to ask. Not today, not ever. He had no power to choose. He shouldn't even be allowed to choose. Every fraction of a second he spent around his friends, he was only making things worse. No matter how he tried, he could not be relied on. And the worst part was, they knew. He was sure they knew. It was only a matter of time before they found out, if they didn't know. And if they didn't know, they should have known. Deserter once, deserter twice, just a matter of time until they knew he could not be relied on. Adder grabbed his shepherd's crook and set towards the...
I wouldn't take another step if I was you, lad. Curfew's on, and Elbar is feeling much better tonight.
Adder's hand twitched around the wooden staff.
Illigrab, where did you... How...
You're never going to guess.
Don't get cute with me now! I was got myself killed because of you! You said you'd be waiting for me all day. Why weren't you?
Why? Now that's a great question. I don't even know where to start. Elbar gets pokered in the head, the Desert Rose goes kaboom during an eclipse, and then 200 bar hands leave their jobs to congregate around an ibex priestess and her row translator in the abandoned temple of a missing god. Kick a hornet's nest and ask me why I'm running around. Oh, Ada, you've always had a knack for making my job hard.
That wasn't... I never meant for any of this to happen. I just wanted to...
Oh, no, kid. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at you. Quite the opposite. I'm honestly kind of impressed. I wouldn't have taken you for the revolutionary kind. Some people spend their whole lives trying to earn their way into what you've stumbled into, you know? You're just oozing with star quality, my boy. Like a natural disaster.
Illigrab, no, I ain't got nothing to do with this, I swear. And even if I did, there's more important stuff going on. The beasts.
Ah, yes. The beasts. The beasts certainly would be an impediment to the guard coming in to nip a riot in the bud.
You don't believe me?
Illigrab exhaled slowly, ruffling every needle under his nose. He combed his mustache with his fingers pensively.
Come on, Ada. You have to admit it's all a little too convenient. Far-fetched, even for you. What would you have me do if I were to believe you?
I don't know, something, anything. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I can't handle this alone.
Alone? Ada, look around you. You've drawn yourselves a crowd. A fervent mass of devout followers heeding the every word of a naive young ibex that was sweeping the floor just yesterday, and a row who can't even get hanged right. Carnivores should be the last thing on your mind right now.
Adder hung his head. He'd never heard that word before, and he didn't need to. He immediately knew what Illigrab was implying. Even though he'd never been so naive as to think the tree man would believe him, Adder's reality was still turned all the bleaker in just a few words. Illigrab sidled towards him, shuffling his feet as he did any time he felt like being inconspicuous.
I don't know what's keeping you here, but I know for a fact you wouldn't be dawdling around if you could help it. I don't have to tell you, right? Nothing good ever comes from being in the spotlight.
Make one mistake. Take a step in the wrong direction. And everything goes up in flames.
As Sepp would put it, yes. One could say that's a rather positive outlook. You know what smart people do, my boy? They always keep a bucket of water at hand.
And you were my bucket of water?
No, kiddo. I'd never run out of fires to put out. I'm on cleaning duty after the show. Your bucket of water, well, I suppose you are the only one who can decide what that looks like.
Adder couldn't bear to even speak of the actual fires he had to mind. He wouldn't say such a thing out loud. It'd be just yet another problem for Illigrab to make light of. Always wanted to pick up the mood, though not always keen on respecting it. The tree man put his helmet on and made to leave. Still, Adder spoke one last time.
Is this how it's gonna be every time? You're just gonna keep on running away with your tail between your legs whenever I need you and then act like we're still friends?
Bleak night approached, one gust at a time. Illigrab's leave soft in the wind.
Someday, you'll understand.
With that, he disappeared into the night, changing exactly nothing at all. Silence again. But this time, the deer could pick the soft creaking of the flame in the fire pit over the hurricane of his own thoughts. When at last they were alone, Adder sat down next to the fire.
Hey, Sip. You heard all that?
The flames flickered in response.
I don't know if I'll ever understand, but I don't get a single thing right now. I think I'm just stalling at this point, because what if I said, let's do this, but then you wake up and I messed everything up and you get mad at me? Oh, gods, what am I saying? We're not talking about you, Adderson. What I'm trying to say is, I want you to be happy. No matter what. If I can't make sure that's going to be the case, I shouldn't be the one making decisions for you.
Applauses and whoops in the distance interrupted this moment of reflection. Adder perked his head up slightly, trying to see if he could catch a glance of whatever was happening in the crowd.
There's a whole party going on out there, you know. I think it's supposed to be a strike, but it's more like a festival in your honor. I'm not sure if you're into that sort of thing, but maybe you would have liked it if we went together. Could have been fun. Tell you a secret? I know it's hard to believe now, but Adderson Hardestag, son of your fought, was never much of a crowd's buck either. Especially taverns. All the music and noise pound my head like nothing else. But it was the one place where folks were drunk enough to be nice to me. Maybe I'd even make a friend or two if they felt like pouring their hearts out. I don't drink to feel good, but I'd drink ooze if it made others feel good about me.
The fire continued burning. That was enough.
You've always been great at listening, you know. I'm seeing that now. Nobody else in the city would let me get a word in, but you always cared so much about everything I said. I wonder if I ever let you speak like that. And speaking of not speaking, if Eka ain't messing with me, Aina should be back soon. I don't know how soon is soon, but I'm really looking forward to seeing her again. It's not even been 2 days, and I'd do anything to have y'all back. Soon can't be soon enough. I need you. Both of you. I'm half the man I am when you're not around. Hang in there, love.
No reply. There never would be one, no matter what he said. Adder knew this deep down. But knowing was not enough to stop him. He couldn't resign to this fate for either of them. He needed something. Anything. He needed to know that she was still there. Just as this thought started to threaten to turn into a whole new spiral, one of the coals snapped and crackled, sending her bells on a short roll away from the fire. They bumped against each other, and the bricks on their sudden getaway, but not a sound came out of them. Adder felt like a fool at the thought that followed. He did. But he still lifted a hand and reached into the forge, careful not to disturb the fire.
No! No!
The sun rose yet another day, and with it, her caretaker. Adder stretched his back very slowly, trying to soothe both the soreness from his many wounds and the terrible backache inherent to sleeping on a pile of charcoal. The fire looked good in the morning, was bright, and the beast almost always left with the dark in his mind. Adder grabbed his newly decorated cane and his best shirt, kindly rescued from Giof's home as a belated peace offering, and set out to patrol the first floor. Zhao wasn't sleeping in the kitchen like the night before, and only the gods knew where and when Giof may have found a bed. It probably wouldn't be long until the priestess made her way up, knowing her. Might as well get some breakfast started and tidy up a little, and dust some cobwebs, and... Adder turned his head when he caught the faintest echo of a tiny pair of hooves climbing up the stairs leading to the forge at midday. He called out from the kitchen, waving a spatula at the goat.
My, oh my! If it ain't the soul of the party herself! How you doing, Jow? Any real big ladies keep you on the tip of your holiness last night?
No, yes, but no. I was too overwhelmed trying to keep up for any of that. I got dragged into a group that kept using difficult words and talking about complex things, and I didn't really know how to excuse myself politely, so I waited for you, but you never came back.
That's what I thank you for.
Your friend played a couple of incredibly bawdy songs and then scurried off to who knows where with a man on each arm.
Right. Yeah, I ought to seen that one coming.
No, he didn't come. He left. Oh, I need you with me to handle these matters, Adder.
Yeah, he came after he left with the guys.
To speak about local taxation and power decentralization.
I get it.
That makes two of us. Besides, I'm doing what I'm meant to do, priestess. Minding the fire till the forge master returns. I'm sure you can fend for yourself just fine. You're just worrying too much.
Zhao leaned back next to Adder, grabbing a cup of the tea he prepared for the group. It had long turned dark and bitter from overboiling.
Adder, I understand that your duty to the Joseph always comes first. Your level of devotion is truly commendable.
She put a hand on his arm and smiled.
But what about your duty to your friends? Your friends who really need you to translate day-to-day conversations for them so they don't accidentally say dirty words in front of 300 people?
Oh, perhaps I could be of assistance.
Oh, gosh.
I don't mean to give myself airs, but I
didn't
have
expect
several
that. That's
years of
funny.
experience presenting my self-edited thesis among scholars. A crowd with such limited amount of higher education should pose no challenge.
Zhao took a long, polite sip of her cup.
What is he doing here?
Adder opened his mouth, but Bearbeth immediately extended his arm in front of him.
Please, friend. This is a battle I must face alone. Allow me to express myself. I know that I am prone to speaking out of turn, and I realize that I have committed many a mistake in my life. I am firmly determined to make up for all of them. I must apologize for upsetting you, good miss. Dialectal variations are perfectly valid from a communicative point of view. Acta Mursirian Besaktet has as much right to exist as its classic Besaxeran counterpart. You have to admit, however, it's obvious that when it comes to written text, that codification provided by the classic standards make legibility much easier and...
He wants to stop being a pest, and I figured making mistakes somewhere I can keep an eye on him is the way to go.
I trust you well
I
enough
love
as
his
a judge
little
of character,
dancing
Adder,
finger
but he
puppet
isn't
thing
going to
going
be
on
making
there.
mistakes near the congregation anytime soon.
No worries. I don't plan on letting him get himself killed. So, you were saying something about big words?
Right! Everyone was talking to me at once and I couldn't understand a word anymore. I think I managed to set up some appointments for the afternoon if you, wouldn't mind stalling their words a little so I have time to process them.
Yeah, you got it, priestess. I'll make up for last night.
Oh, on that tangent, have you given any thought to the matter we discussed?
Yeah, no. Gelf's gonna be out of the picture for a while, so I reckon you're gonna have to handle this one on your own, Zhao.
Bearbeth briefly recapitulated the same explanation he'd given Adder the previous night, and Basaktet this time. Zhao took a hand to her face, processing the offer in silence.
I'm not an alchemist like you, and I don't know the last thing about Sephihet. Given our history, I'm positive that the academies in Akathor didn't save more than the texts that benefited them. I have spent my entire life learning about matters of the spirit, and from what little I understand of the anatomy of the soul, I believe that if you went ahead with this, in her current state, you would merely be building a column.
Well, yes, that's the idea.
Excuse me?
Bearbeth!
What? It's just a temporary measure. A little test run, if you will, until we learn of a better way.
I will not allow you to use the Jasif for your experiments!
Then you will have her die of exposure.
You're overlooking all the ethical implications of doing such a thing. Imagine you woke up one day inside a lifeless marble body. What would you think?
I would be overjoyed.
Yeah, you would.
Zhao glared at Bearbeth for way longer than she needed to. Then she turned to the next year.
Ada, you knew her well. What would the Jessif think?
I knew they were going to ask.
Oh, jeez.
I don't think she'd like it.
Well, the key word is doesn't matter.
What do we need to choose to get the best ending?
Well, I need to go for a second. You all discuss this amongst yourselves.
Okay, I get my knife, guys. Here we go.
Oh no! Rick is making us make choices!
Guys, I got my knife here.
My input is absolutely do not.
Do
not
what?
turn her into
Do
a
not
golem.
turn- oh,
She
yeah,
will
I
have
mean-
a way to turn herself back. Just to give her patience.
I'm not so sure about that, though. I mean, I'm just guessing here. But...
Do you have any input, Maxie?
If we say it doesn't matter now,
no.
she'd be extra pissed.
I mean, if only Maxie was here, we could just... No.
Let me look into the mind of the game's creator itself.
Maxi just vibing to the music. You'll figure it out.
Let me
let's
ask
see,
you
let's
this.
ask Maxie.
Let me ask you this, oh Maxie one. Does this affect the ending, this choice?
You think I'm going to tell you? You think you
No.
deserve to know that answer? You
No.
think you're in a position to ask God for the answers to your life? I am the creator of this universe. I will not. I don't kiss and tell. That's impolite.
She could end you, Stoker.
He, my man.
Do you want to
Tahi.
risk Sep's wrath? Is the real question here.
Do you want to involve Maxie's wrath?
Maxi has no wrath for you. Maxi just vibing to the music.
If I was in Max's position, I would not. I would be opposed to turning Sep into a golem.
You know, I'll be honest, if I were dealing with this situation in real life, which hasn't happened so far yet, but you know, I'm still relatively young. If I were in this position, I probably also wouldn't turn her into a golem. As much as I
You all don't want a cute robot girl.
I was about to say, as much as I kind of want to see what RoboSep would look like.
It's like Metal Sonic.
More like Metal Sally. Which is the thing. That
I'm
is the
sure
thing.
she'd have
What?
all sorts of stuff to say about it. Leaving aside what she'd think of having Bearbeth anywhere near her, Zep was always real proud about her standing, if you know what I mean.
So we could work
Mean
on
your ass?
conserving her original mass. That's not an issue.
Hey, I wasn't talking about that specifically.
I will not allow you to turn her into a moving machine. That's final.
And who named you head of the ethics committee?
Well, she is a priestess. Adder turned his one eye toward Bearbeth and toward his open palm.
I mean, understandable. I shall find a way to protect her while we waste time searching for an alternative solution.
That's better.
Hello? Miss Priestess? Are you available yet?
Oh, what are they doing here? I said to meet me in the afternoon.
It is indeed past midday.
But it's not even lunchtime yet.
Oh, good! So it's not just a chancery thing then!
We need to get dressed. Come on, Ada.
Adder started running, but quickly changed his mind.
If I leave you alone with the fire, am I gonna return to something weird?
Just keep him in the sunlight.
Oh,
Bearbeth is
what
like,
an
"How do you define
expressive
weird?"
adage. I suppose it means you should keep an eye on me.
Stepped away.
both
What
if
did
I
you
had 'em.
choose?
We chose no golem. Nolem.
No go.
There she is!
But real talk, Maxie, did we miss out on a cute robot girlfriend?
Yeah, that's okay. You can still get a cute robot girlfriend.
The newly dolled up goat and deer rushed to the open gates and led a select group into the temple, leaving Bearbeth behind in the cloister just to make extra sure he wouldn't get up to any experimental antics. The patio was filled to the brim with gazelles waiting for their turn.
Ciao, bud. How many folks did you schedule at the same time?
Zhao and Adder stepped up to the altar in front of the statue.
I believe that couple over there were the first to ask.
Adder relayed the message, and so they stepped forward.
Yeah, so yesterday's stunt was really nice and all, but you still didn't answer our questions.
Not that we doubt your wisdom, priestess. Getting to know each other was a really poignant moment, and I'm sure you must be busy talking to the Yasif and all. We're just wondering if you,
Do you have enough food to feed us for as long as the strike lasts? Or do you expect us to raid our pantries every day? Because I was promised fruit.
I told you it was a metaphor!
Adder and Zhao excused themselves to the colonnade. After making sure that nothing had gotten lost in translation, they both started quietly reflecting on the problem.
I don't understand this strike thing, but is it customary to feed disciples in the temples of Heirloom?
You're a merchant.
They hand out a fig leaf and a garlic clove and amais on the first day, but it's more trouble than it's worth.
This is a historical need, in a historic moment, however. Is it not the duty of religious structures to feed the people when the local administration fails them?
That's regrettably a good point. We must veil for the well-being of our disciples, especially if the famine in the city is as terrible as I've heard. Let's share our pantry with them.
His bum arm switched sides.
Oh, yep. So they
Say
did.
what?
Yep.
If we feed everyone here, we'll run out of food for ourselves in no time.
We can only
And
have
we're
it
being a little
more.
selfish, I think,
Our
aren't we?
goodwill shall be repaid to us in time.
You sure fell right off the turnip cart, priestess.
You're one to talk.
Adder Adder took a hand to his face,
No,
lamenting.
you didn't ask the most important question earlier. Would Golem Sep still have a huge robo butt?
It's a good question. Maxie, you're the arbiter of all things canon. Would she have still had a big old robot badonkadonk?
If Adder insisted on it, yes.
If Zhao allowed it, you mean?
Adder took a hand to his face, lamenting the loss of his own innocence, not to mention his old protective layer of fat.
You need not suffer needlessly, my friends. I will be happy to surrender all my assets to the cause.
How many assets are those?
The entirety of the pantry in my lodging and the few Durandon I brought with me. We would have infinitely more resources if I had access to the Askadeth household, but I believe this should help us last a couple of days.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah, I suppose we can always figure out other ways to get food as we go.
Zhao and Adder walked back to the congregation. A young man was about to speak up when a sable rider rammed the gates open and stormed into the patio, cutting a path for himself on the back of a palo. Odd mutters and exclamations of sacrilege and disrespect accompanied him as he dismounted his ride, but he paid them no mind.
Priestess, Etor the Rebuke
Yes.
addresses you. I was born under a different name, to miners
Hell
ruined
yeah.
and captured in Vought, where the imperial law may as well have been written on leaves. My parents were worked to death, and I paid their debt in blood. This is the loyal Aram. Many travelers have died a painful death, stomped under her roots, and all the burden she's known was stolen. And yet, when I heard your divine message, Aram knew to ride here as fast as she could. I do not seek forgiveness, nor am I looking to change my ways. All I ask is that you allow me to unsheath my sword for you from now on. My armed band and I will proudly provide for those who fight for a future free of pain for all Baran kind.
What a hefty load of crap! Amu yes Monty, Amu for my friends. Friends that died on the road at the hands of people like Eddie here. So trust me when I say, food shouldn't come at the cost of grieving widows. Don't get the name of this reputable cause mixed up with the likes of him. Whatever it is you need, I have the connections necessary to procure it. At a fair price, of course.
Merchants! You would dare pull your siblings into your racket?
I would never. Fair is fair, however, and I don't expect our dear countrymen would lend a hand to our cause out of the goodness of their hearts.
Their hearts will be opened to us, or they will be opened by us.
Gorgeous words. They'll look great on our death record after you get us all hanged.
Now.
I really love
Why
the
don't we all
vaguely
take a deep
Groucho
breath?
Marx-esque inflections this guy is giving.
I thought saying that I wanted kind of like Rodney Dangerfield.
That's funny because I was thinking Moose sounded a bit like John Lovitz. That's
Yeah, I was thinking John Lovitz too.
That's funny.
Which guy?
The
Merchant. I, for one, I'm a huge fan of my boyfriend Shadow the Antelope.
Silence! I'll have the tongue of whoever dares interrupt me again!
Etor drew his sword, filling the patio with screams and a sudden avalanche of people trying to get out. Before the chaos could grow into calamity, a shadow leapt onto the floor from the roof and crossed the crowd, quick as the wind. Etor looked at his hand. He no longer had a sword.
What?
In the center of the offertory, there stood a white-haired smith, bending a sword into the shape of a ladle with her bare hands.
Aina!
Finally.
What in the name of the three is that thing?
Fool! Look what you've done! You've angered the priestess's guardian golem!
No, that ain't it. She ain't no golem.
Each and every single of Aina's steps left a crater on the flagstones beneath as she lunged toward the raider and lifted him off the ground.
Priestess, please! I didn't mean to offend. Stop the golem!
She ain't no.
Basidupse, please, stop this.
Adder felt all the air escape out of his lungs when he finally opened his eyes. Zhao was standing in front of him, armed and ready to throw herself against this creature, but trembling all the while.
I don't know why you came or what you're looking for, but I will not allow you to hurt these people. If it's a fight you're looking for, fight me. I beg you.
Anna stared at Zhao for the longest time, unmoving, unresponsive. Adder knew what he had to do, but it still hurt.
Aina! Drop it.
Chun.
Anna immediately opened her hand, letting the bandit fall to the ground like a dead weight. She quietly returned to Adder's side, ignoring the spear pointed at her. There, she simply turned to stand behind Adder's back. Zhao turned her eyes up towards Adder, frightened and confused. "She's with me," he whispered under her breath, hoping Zhao would catch it. Then he turned his attention to the sparse crowd that still remained on the patio.
Everything's under control. We can...
A short tug on his sleeve. He looked down to find Zhao still trembling.
No, sorry. The priestess has asked me to inform y'all that we are all out of time and she needs to return to tending to the Asif. We got enough taters to feed all y'all for a couple of days. We'll figure out the rest as we go.
Complaints and musings and the rare thank you followed.
I'll be around and available to anyone that got more questions to pass on to her. If anyone gives you crap, just holler and me and my friend Aina will drop right by. No shanks or swords, or she'll be the one y'all be talking to.
With that, the impromptu open hours meeting was adjourned. No one dared utter another word as he walked out. Adder offered his hand for Zhao to hold on to, but she just shook her head and walked back to the back on her own strength, clinging to her spear. Once the gates were locked, Adder finally had time to turn his attention to the returning newcomer.
Boss, I'm so happy to see you! I couldn't believe it when I heard you'd be back.
Anna looked up at Adder vacantly. Zhao couldn't help flinching at the sight.
Your boss is,
Golem? No, course not. They got that wrong. This is my boss, Aina, the prettiest smith in the city. Also known as the short sister of the tall lady you like so much. Come on, wave high or something, won't you?
Anna shook her left hand and right mechanically, all the while wearing an empty expression. It was a straight opposite of the face Bearbeth made when he saw her.
Gods above! Is that a golem with female features? This could be the solution to all our problems!
Bearbeth, come on! Not you two! We've been over this. This is Aina. Remember? The whole reason why I punched you in the face when we met?
Now it was Bearbeth's time to stare.
'Cause you cut up her clothes trying to prove she was a golem?
Nope, nothing.
You got a note that said she'd let you explore or whatever in exchange for saving me.
Oh, don't be silly. Even the most advanced scribe golems can only write down dictation. A golem with free will. I'll gladly take up your offer to examine
Though?
I don't care what she is. I'll get him if you don't.
Adder put his hands over his face and dragged his snout down.
I can't deal with this right now. I'm gonna tell Pertuck she's back. Just keep an eye on her, okay? She's her own person, but don't let her get in trouble.
Zhao looked at the menacing girl in front of her, then back at Adder. She nodded unsurely. The stairs that led to the Master's Tower and the Great Temple of Hero were encapsulated in as narrow a tunnel as possible, so as to discourage visitors. In yesteryears, the Master of the Temple would retreat to the tower to consider philosophical and religious matters away from the library and the noise of the common halls. Adder navigated the oppressive staircase in the dark, passing a hand through the slightly moist rock that made up the walls. He'd never climbed the stairs to the studio tower of the Temple of Hero, not even to sweep the dust. Much like the disciples of yore, Adder knew what would be coming to him if he bothered the Master during his philosophical retreat. His daily nap, as it were. Still, he had no choice but to knock on the door. No response. He knocked again.
Mr. Pertuck, sir! Good news! Aina's back! Just thought you'd like to know.
No, she's not.
What do you mean she's not? She's downstairs.
The moon is not watching, and the sun is far too low. My daughter is too scared of the dark to come out.
Okay. But she's downstairs if you want to talk to her.
I'm trying to rest. Go pester someone else.
Sure thing, sir. So sorry to bother you with awful good news. My bad for trying to do anything for my old patron.
Son of Griffin, keep her away from the fire, or you'll have 2 corpses to mourn instead of 1.
Adder kept his back turned against the door for a moment. Against his better judgment and the basics of common sense, he marched at last into the merchant's room. Inside, he found a room full of maps, charts, and all sorts of mathematical and nautical instruments Adder would never fully understand. A little sky door illuminated the ceiling, and all the windows were shut except for one. Seeking the last few remnants of warm sunlight before bleak night on a frayed mat, a weak, decrepit old man sat poorly tucked into a rocking chair. Adder's chest billowed with a sigh.
Sir, I know you don't give half a damn about me, and that's a good thing right now, because I'm 2 hairs short of going bald, and I need to tell it to someone straight. I'm real darn tired of everyone speaking riddles around me. What can I help with? What do you need? Say the word and I'll go and get it done.
You? Humbug. You're messing with forces you don't understand. Tottering about like a newborn fawn. Powerless.
I'm not. I've gotten so much done in just a few days. I'm cleaning up my act, doing things for my friends. I'm trying to be better.
Gotten so much done in just a few days, and he has no idea how he did any of it.
So you're powerless with a smile. Burn as bright as you want now. That flame isn't bound to last long. Youth truly is wasted on the young.
Please, please, give me something to work with here.
I'll give you something, all right. A new bump on that hollow turnip you call a skull. You want orders? Take your crap and leave my temple immediately, like I said. Go get lost in the steppes where they will never find you.
Pertuck's maddened screams were cut short by a strong coughing fit. His entire body seemed to sink into his chair, turned 100 years older yet.
If I could afford to be as foolish as you, I would run. Run where guilt could never find me.
Yeah, well, I ain't like you.
No, you're powerless.
Why am I even talking to you? You're just some bitter know-all geezer who spends his days screaming at anyone that'll listen and saying terrible things about his daughter because she can't argue back. I don't need your opinion.
On that, we agree.
Adder left the tower in a huff.
Did he?
No, I don't know what the question is, but no. Where's Aina?
She, wandered off somewhere, despite my insistence that she stay.
Yeah, she'll do that. Don't let Bearbeth follow her around, though, or I'll...
Adder swung his staff in the air. It got stuck in the rafters. A string of extremely colorful curses followed.
Adder? How are you feeling today?
Adder stopped swearing at last. He turned his face away from the staff for a moment.
I'm fine. Why?
Zhao lowered her head. She scanned the floor, looking for conversation starters.
I thought you may be hungry?
Adder halted again. He took a hand to his bruised, caved-in stomach.
Huh. I guess I ought to be, yeah.
Zhao nodded her head towards their own private pile of uncooked tubers. Adder meant to make up an excuse, but he couldn't refuse Zhao's considerate insistence. Once the potato was in his hand, he examined its weight. A large, hefty tuber, a healthy spud, if you will. Without another word, he turned and hurled the potato at the crook of his staff, finally keeling it off the beam and onto the ground. Adder grabbed his crutch and lifted it in the air for Zhao to see.
Woo! That's what I call a sharp eye! Did you see that?
Toss a potato again. I dare you.
Yeah.
Adder never used food as projectile again for the remainder of his life.
As he should.
Though he had spent a long time in the Temple of Hera, our protagonist's little foray into the tower showed him just how little he knew about the place. While he wasn't allowed to wander in principle, Adder had still had time to find his own favorite places, spots that provided him with some semblance of calm when Aina got on his nerves or the forge became a bit too much. He walked towards the shaded corner in the street behind the library with a nice, warm, somewhat battered ash-baked potato on his hands.
Translator, come this way.
Like a clerk being bothered during lunch break, Adder turned reluctantly towards the voice calling out to him. He immediately recognized it as Aitor's, the writer who had stirred trouble in the offertory. But what was he going to do? Say no to the bandit? Adder dragged his feet towards a buttress Aitor was leaning against. The sable buck took a thoughtful hand to his neck mane before speaking.
Apologize to the priestess on my behalf. I did not mean to cause such a scene. Strength is the way to impose order where law falters, and I misjudged my own position towards her. She is brave and did not hesitate to fight where I cowered. She has my respect for it.
Aitor's eyes then slid right towards Adder. The boy followed his line of sight, confused, only to startle and nearly slam the potato against Aina's face.
It's clear to me now that the creature is bound to you, not her. It's good that she has people with such skills around her. You have great power at your disposal.
I ain't got nothing at my disposal. Aina ain't here to fight. She's here to help us.
That makes no difference to me. I only wanted you to know that I will not apologize to you, but I will not draw a weapon against you or anyone here again. Not without good reason.
Much obliged.
Tell the priestess that if she will have me, my offer remains the same. I will bring whatever her followers need. I will slay whoever she needs slain. And if she renounces my help, I will ride, never to be seen again. For now, I see that our people have nowhere to rest. I will have my trees of burden bring in our accommodations to share as a sign of goodwill. Tell the priestess that Aitor the Rebuke did this because he wished to.
Adder nodded and then started walking back towards the library entrance, now in the company of Aina.
Tell the priestess that Aitor the Rebuke did this because me. Can you believe that guy?
A potato-stuffed snout turned immediately to find a man sidling towards Adder. He would have recognized a merchant like this one a mile away. Moo was the sort of man that walked like he'd seen the entire world twice or thrice, and he'd probably seen it a fourth too. He was the kind that came to his village every few moons, carrying tales bigger than life and little trinkets for the children. Of course he came down from Chanthure. Adder allowed himself a morsel of fast-talking, tall tale-telling national pride somewhere in his battered old heart.
How are you doing after all that, translator? Sorry to call you translator, by the way. I'd call you by your name, but I just realized I don't even know what you're called.
Oh, it's Adderson if you're mad, and Adder for everything else.
Adderson. Why, that name barely sounds out of place here. No, I'm just pulling your leg. It's a pleasure, Otter. Thank you for your work. Baitat knows we would all be turning rocks looking for a Basektet speaker without you.
We could have gotten your mother right.
Why, I've never had my mother brought up so nicely. Tell you what, though, if she wasn't already an Ern, she would have been smitten dead on the spot at the mention of a Jasif.
Moo took a cup to his snout and a sort of impromptu toast to the departed.
Drat! 5 minutes talking to a raider, and now I got the manners of one, eh? Otter, my boy, would you care for some tea?
I'm good, thank you.
More for me, then. And you know what? I'm going to need it. Sheesh, didn't think I'd make it out alive today. Bandits, sure, I've seen heaps of them. Blades are blades, and blades you can buy. But golems, you don't see those every day.
Ain't no.
Yeah, you can say that again. Hey, tell the priestess that if she ever tires of it, she already knows someone who'll take it right off her hands. Her buddy Moo could use an extra arm or two to stick it up to the treasurer. Ha
Moo patted Adder on the back, cackling loudly until eventually the laughter dried out into a knowing chuckle.
Look, just between you and me, I'm not all that sold on this whole whatever this is. I'm a Boron since the day I was born, of course. And I want to make sure everyone has a better life and whatnot. But if we don't watch who we mingle with, the whole offertory bit is going to become our daily routine, right? And the neighbors will complain. Oh, these gazelles are being noisy. They're a problem, just like we thought. We give the guards one tiny little excuse to show up on our doorstep. And you know where this whole thing is headed?
Down the sewers.
Moo tapped on his snout.
You tell the priestess that for me, yeah? To keep it civil and respectable. I'm willing to put a few coins and wares towards the cause, as long as it's safe for everyone.
Adder nodded in the manner of people who absolutely have no way of making any wise commitment tend to do. Deep down, this sounded wrong. He could hardly imagine a civil and respectable fight for anything, much less a whatever this was. Set on this tangent, his mind wandered far from the conversation. Would he have to find ways to rely on secret messages from now on? It sounded like the kind of wink-wink nudge whisper that absolutely did not account for having middlemen. Or maybe it did. Maybe a fall guy was just what Moo and Etor wanted.
The merchant guy's smile is really versatile.
With a flimsy, mumbled excuse, Adder plodded off to find himself a priestess, closely followed by Aina. No matter how much Zhao insisted she needed him to get through a conversation, he was convinced he needed her doubly so. He didn't belong here. Adder's escape plan was cut short by a couple of gazelles standing conspicuously on the way to the entrance.
Y'all got a message for the priestess too?
Yeah, tell the potatoes were kind of stale.
Enough whack Kibasop in the back of the head.
We just wanted to tell you personally that we're very sorry for what happened yesterday.
Oh, you mean the whole... No, you were right too, I'm sure. I mean, I am a horn eater after all. That's no skin off my back these days.
No, we don't mind what you... It was our fault for assuming you were trying to pull something on us.
No, it's all right. It's my bad for not explaining myself properly.
No, it's...
Gods! How long are you gonna keep this up? You're both sorry. I still think this is a scam. Let's move on and leave the Etude alone already.
Chups up! I'm so sorry about him. He's had some issues with...
Dear?
People, in general. Please don't tell your friend to smite him. He's a lot, but he's all right.
I got a friend just like that. He'd be a massive bigot if he weren't so short. And I don't know if they'd be best friends or mortal enemies.
Yeah?
Adder and Nuff stared at each other awkwardly. The stag barely held back the need to slap himself in the face for having said such a hideous thing just to keep the conversation going.
I think I'm just gonna go now.
Adder sighed into his hands.
Hey, y'all seen Goff anywhere around?
Though he couldn't quite explain the scene he was witnessing in the library, Adder was pretty sure he'd just stumbled upon a battlefield. Books lay scattered across the floor. Bearbith and Zhao were sitting on the opposite ends of the room, facing their respective corners.
I'm positive that photoic as an adjective refers to bronze.
And I'm telling you, it means brass.
What would you know? I bet you don't even know what those alloys are composed of.
I don't need to know how to make something to know what it means in my own language.
To call it your own language, when only one of us can read classic Basaktet with any fluency?
I'm gonna go get dinner ready while y'all focus on your stuff.
Thank you, that'd be great.
Cheers, Adder.
Cheers, Adder.
Second Adder turned around, the academic insults came back in full force. Bearbith's arm was on the wrong end in the beginning of that scene, too.
Yeah.
Also, just said midnight.
Wasn't there something where you said before Maxie came in that there was something that said replying when it should have been replaying?
What? Reply what? Sorry?
Oh, there
there
was
was one
typo.
typo. I don't remember what it was though.
It'll be on the VOD, that's all I can say.
Perfect.
Hey, that seems like a perfectly good spot to save.
Okay.
Okay, I was wrong. But that's not bad. I like how this is going. I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
It's crazy. I mean,
The story has taken some turns I did not anticipate it taking.
For real. Anyway, that was really good. Really enjoying it, Maxie. Thank you.
Has Lynn fallen asleep yet? We'll find out next time.
Next time.
We are rating Andre Maref. Some of you might have heard him. He makes awesome VTuber models, and he's a cool dude. So tell him the Roo Croo said hi, and we will catch you next time.
Yep.
See you next time, everybody.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.